remaining was the question to be put, which I hereby do. That this House adopts the report of the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare on its consideration of the session of paper number 2 of 2019 on the national policy on gender and development, laid on the table of the House on Thursday, October 8th, 2020, and further approves session of paper number 2 of 2019 on the national policy on gender and development. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. As many of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next.
Order number 9, special motion, approval of the nominee for appointment as Data Commissioner.
The Chairman, Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation. Honorable Kisang.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as the Data Commissioner, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, and pursuant to Section 6, subsection 4 of the Data Protection Act 2019 and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of Ms. Immaculate Kasaid as Data Commissioner. Honorable Speaker, upon receipt of message from the President, you directed that the Committee on Communication Innovation undertakes vetting of the nominee, and the Clerk National Assembly put an advert in the dailies on 19th of October 2020 for people who have interest to submit memoranda, and by the close of business on 26th of October 2020, the committee received 3 memoranda, 2 of them in support of the nominee by the former chair of IBC, Mr. Ahmed Isaac Azan, and 1 from FIDA Kenya, also in support of the nominee. We also received 1 memorandum that was contesting the nominee from ICJ. Honorable Speaker, the committee thereafter went through all the memoranda, and I want to report to the House that the report or the memorandum from ICJ did not meet the requirements which vindicated the nominee. So, Honorable Speaker, the committee went through the CV of the nominee and found that the nominee is a Kenyan citizen without dual citizenship, born in Kiambu in 1977. She has a law degree from University of Makerere, postgraduate diploma from Kenya School of Law, and master's degree from International University, USIU, Honorable Speaker. And these are basically the basic requirements that are required for appointment as a Data Commissioner. Honorable Speaker, the nominee has experience spanning over 17 years in various senior management positions, including those held at IBC as a Director of Further Registration and Institute of Education in Democracy, in line with the requirements on knowledge and relevant experience of not more than 10 years as spelled in Section 7(1)(b) of the Data Protection Act of 2019. Honorable Speaker, on Chapter 6, the nominee was cleared by all the government agencies. She was cleared by Ethics and Corruption Commission, Kenya Revenue Authority, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, political parties, and also Higher Education Laws Board on payment of a loan in line with Chapter 6 of the Constitution. Honorable Speaker, the Public Service Commission advertised for the position interviews, shortlisting was done, interviews were done, and the nominee was ranked number 1. And she was among the 3 names that were submitted by Public Service Commission to the President, and the President sent the name to Parliament. Honorable Speaker, as a committee, as I had said, Honorable Speaker, we got 3 memorandums. The committee considered them, and the nominee responds and observed that ICJ had not demonstrated the nominee's personal culpability, as the issues raised in the memorandum did not directly implicate her in a personal capacity, but implicated IEBC as a corporate body and not her. Honorable Speaker, as it said also, the chairman of IEBC, Mr. Ahmed Isaac Hassan, and MS Ann Waireri, the executive director of FIDA Kenya, in the memorandum supported the appointment of the nominee, as they lauded her competence, dedication, and requisite skills as set out in the law. Honorable Speaker, the nominee held various positions, and the committee saw it fit as by the law that she qualifies. Honorable Speaker, the committee sat, went through all these and made recommendations, and as a committee, I want to report that after having conducted the approval hearings of the nominee, pursuant to Section 6.4 of the Data Protection Act 2019, Section 8.1 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act number 33 of 2011, and the National Assembly Standing Orders 45.4 to determine the nominee's suitability for the appointment to the Office of Data Commissioner. Honorable Speaker, the Departmental Committee recommends that this House approves the nomination of MS Kasaid for appointment as Data Commissioner by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request my colleague, Honorable Anthony Lwach, to second.
Honorable Lwach, member for Mathare.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I rise to second the reports by the committee as moved by the chair. Honorable Speaker, the committee did look at a number of things, including the provisions of Chapter 6, engaging the suitability of this candidate. The first issue that I want to address in relation to what was raised by the ICJ is in relation to 2 questions which were very central to the last 2 elections, and which the committee had the occasion to look at, and they challenged their suitability based on a report of the KPMG. Honorable Speaker, this report in brief related to the handling of data and data materials in the elections preceding 2017 and the 2017 election. And the report found that IEBC had mishandled the data. However, Honorable Speaker, the questions that the committee had to grapple with, and these questions were put to the candidate, was whether or not in relation to Chapter 6, there was any direct matter that impugned the character and the suitability of this candidate, or placed any culpability on this candidate in the matter of handling the data of IEBC at that particular time. The candidate was able to demonstrate that she could separate her personal capacity in terms of the ability to manage data in this country in a very politically tough environment such as ours, and especially in a situation in which the Constitution itself provides for the right to privacy, provides for the right to protection of data, and what is already the public domain, that the #1 culprit in terms of being able to breach privacy and data is the state. And she was able to demonstrate that as a person, she is able to hold her head high in terms of integrity and in terms of being able to discharge her duty. Honorable Speaker, there was also a claim in relation to the conduct, not directly of the person, but of IEBC itself. And we were able to put questions to this candidate in relation to what specifically were her roles. And it was important that we do this, and we asked her to look the committee and the Kenyans in the eye and assure them that if she was able to get or secure the position of data commissioner, she would be able to discharge her duty without interference of the state, because the claim here then was that IEBC acted in concert with the state to circumvent the election and the handling of data. So, Honorable Speaker, in concluding and in supporting, the role of the data commissioner is going to be very important, especially now that we have come into the position where we can get the data and the Huduma number. The implementation of this is going to ensure that there is connectivity between all the registration of person, the register of death, the issues of the ID, and other documents, including KRA documents. This position is going to be very crucial. It's going to be one that requires a lot of support, both budgetary, and we were able to ask the candidate how she was going to be able to roll out and get expertise and harness resources, both human and otherwise, and she was able to convince us that in the last two positions as Director of Education and of IEBC and Director of Voter Education in 2013, she was able to put together the best minds that she could put in order to be able to get desired results. For these reasons, Honorable Speaker, we urge this House to support the report and to endorse this nominee. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
I propose the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as a data commissioner, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, and pursuant to Section 6, subsection 4 of the Data Protection Act 2019, and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, this House approves the appointment of Mrs. Immaculate Kasait as the Data Commissioner. Honorable Fatuma Gedi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the onset, I want to support and congratulate the committee for the job well done, Mr. Speaker. As you know, this is the first commissioner we are having as a data commissioner. And I'm very honored and happy, Mr. Speaker, to have a woman to be the first data commissioner, Mr. Speaker. Looking at the report, it's evident that one Immaculate Kasait has experience, integrity, and she has what it takes to take this job to hire an integrator site, Mr. Speaker. Having served as a Director of Education in IEBC, Mr. Speaker, we saw the kind of voter education that happened across the country, in our counties, in our constituencies, Mr. Speaker. And the way the chairman said, the allegations was not about her in particular, Mr. Speaker, or the complaints that was brought before the committee was not about her. As you know, IEBC is a big institution, Mr. Speaker, but her track records, I believe, is what has given her the opportunity, Mr. Speaker. So on behalf of the Kenyan women and the parliamentarians in this House, Mr. Speaker, we are very happy. And I want to thank His Excellency the President for giving us a woman who will serve this country with dedication, with passion, and honesty, Mr. Speaker. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity, and I support this motion.
Member for Rangwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to rise and support the work that has been done by the committee, especially on the vetting of the data commissioner. Kenya is at a point where it is grappling with matters that are related with IEBC, and when it comes to electioneering, data processing and data handling is very, very important. And when we want to get a genuine and a true dialogue, is that we must get a very authentic way and an authentic person to head the unit of handling our data as a nation. And I want to thank the committee for the vetting process and for the person that they have settled on. But more so, I want to thank His Excellency the President for mainstreaming the issue of gender on his appointment. For this particular purpose, I want to congratulate Madam who has been given this work and who has been brought for the purpose of our indulgence in it as this House. I want to honestly pray that when she goes to do her work, she does it without any fear of contradiction. She gives it her best that she can give. Positions that have always been held by women have been done with a lot of integrity and passion. And women give it their best shot when they are given an opportunity. And I'm giving a clarion call to women that now opportunities are coming out for women, and there is an eye on women, and women must come out and show leadership. Women must come out and show direction. Women must come out and do a good job. So I support the work of the committee, and I hope that it goes well with her and she does a good job. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Danita Gatti.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the opportunity to support the appointment of Immaculate Kasait as the Data Commissioner. Mr. Speaker, sir, Immaculate Kasait is very well known to me. I have worked with her in the women's movement before when she was working for the IED, that is the Institute for Education in Democracy, and I was with the League of Kenya Women Voters. Mr. Speaker, I would actually recommend Madam Immaculate Njenge Kasait for the position. And Mr. Speaker, for me, it is a very good opportunity because for the first time, there is a woman occupying a new office, Mr. Speaker, and that tells you that the President has a lot of confidence in this woman, and I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, that she will really perform because ideally this is a new commission, Mr. Speaker, and this is the first occupant of this office. And Mr. Speaker, a lot of work awaits Madam Immaculate. And Mr. Speaker, when you look at her qualifications, Mr. Speaker, she has quite a lot and a wide experience, having worked for both the IEBC and the IED, Mr. Speaker, especially looking at the issues of gender where we were working together. And for me, this is an opportunity, Mr. Speaker. I know this is not an easy job, Mr. Speaker. Being the first job, I know Kenya really expects a lot from her, first of all, also as a woman. And I'm confident, Mr. Speaker, that she's going to really support. We are in an era where really what is mattering in this country for now is the issue of data collection, Mr. Speaker, and the issue of digitization of this data to be able to ensure that even as we move around in our Huduma centers, really, Mr. Speaker, a lot of this data and information, and especially, Mr. Speaker, I am keen to see how she will actually digitize this data, and especially ensuring that the most marginalized people, that are persons with disabilities, information and data is well captured, Mr. Speaker, for future use. Mr. Speaker, when this country is actually looking at a person, and a person basically meets the criteria, one of the greatest criteria that the committee has suggested is actually the consideration that is in line with Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Kenya, which is basically the one that looks at leadership and integrity. Mr. Speaker, Madam Njenge Kasait, for me, Mr. Speaker, she worked so well when I knew her, and I have also seen her work, Mr. Speaker, around issues of voter education with IBC, and I'm confident, Mr. Speaker, that she will actually produce this same zeal and determination, Mr. Speaker, and passion that she has worked along the issues of, working with people to be able, Mr. Speaker, to really put the bar high, especially the fact that she is the first occupant of this office. So, Mr. Speaker, allow me to say that I support her appointment and thank the President for the opportunity to give her this job. And I'm confident that she's going to leave a legacy as the first data commissioner of Kenya, and a woman for that matter. Mr. Speaker, sir, if you look at the recommendations that came on board in her support, the recommendations that basically supported Madam Immaculate Kasait basically came from reputable human rights organizations in this country. When you look at FIDA, Mr. Speaker, FIDA is no mean organization in this country, Mr. Speaker, and it is very keen on issues of gender and empowerment and human rights. So, Mr. Speaker, when an appointment gets support of such a huge and a well-known organization like FIDA, Mr. Speaker, really there's no doubt that this is the best candidate for the job. And allow me, Mr. Speaker, to really support her, and I wish her all the best as she performs her task. I support, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the opportunity.
Member for Kilifi North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to stand to support the appointment of Immaculate Kasait as a commissioner for data, or data commissioner in this country, and congratulate her for the appointment. And her experience, her education, I think she has the wherewithal to really run to be a data commissioner, and to be actually the first person to start this work in this country. And we wish her well as he does this work. But as it may be, Mr. Speaker, I think the report from KPMG puts a shade on her ability to withstand political storms as she tries to manage data in this country. I think, I know there's a new terminology in this country called sanitization, but I think this country will never forget what happened during that election. And the items, the things that came. I never knew about this name until my party told me this is the person who bungled the election because of how she managed the data at IBC. Be as it may, Mr. Speaker, I know people can change and people can work at a different atmosphere and different climate, and therefore we want to join my colleagues to congratulate her and wish her well, and that we would advise her that she needs to be stronger than she was when she was at the IBC. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For Endebess.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On the onset, I want to support this motion for approval of Ms. Immaculate Kasait as a data commissioner. Honorable Speaker, an institution is not run by one individual. And when it comes to even any elections, what we have seen in the US, we should be able to respect independent institutions and give them their due space for them to be able to work. In any election, there'll always be complaints, especially for those who lose. And we can see Trump complaining and even saying he wants to go to court. That is his right. But at the end of the day, every account must be able to, every vote counts. And therefore, as a data commissioner, we expect her that she will be able to follow the law, be able to protect every individual, every citizen's privacy, data privacy, and let people not expect that when she's in that position, she's going to help them. She's going to be an independent officer, make sure that every data for every individual is protected and everybody is entitled to his privacy. So with those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Member for Kitui West.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me take this opportunity to actually say that I support the nomination of Immaculate Kasaiti. Let me take even this opportunity to congratulate her that out of the many who were proposed, that she has actually been nominated by the President. And let me say that this one is a new office, so she has all the opportunity to actually manage the office the way she wants to do it, and in the best practice and to the best of Kenyans. And since she has all the qualifications, having worked at IBC as educationist and also in the communication department, I think she is well placed to even put this commission in the best way possible with all our qualifications. I think she will now, I would wish that she runs the office with all honesty, with all the trustworthiness, as she guards the privacy of the data for all the Kenyans. And I would also wish that wish her all the best, because she's also going to be looked at as a woman, and that she should leave a legacy, especially for the women leaders, that she'll be actually a role model for all of us, for the other women, that they follow her, and also with our qualifications, with our office being managed in the right way possible, that more women would even be put in offices of leadership. So with that, I support our nomination as the Data Commissioner. Thank you.
Member for Laikipia.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, for nominating one of our many women in this country to be the first data commissioner. I have not personally met Mrs. Kasait, but I want to congratulate her and congratulate the ICT committee for a job well done and taking it one step at a time to see that majority of our women are not denied an opportunity to serve on basis of where they come from, where they are married, or who they have given birth children with. Mr. Speaker, I'm not ashamed as a woman to say that majority of us as women, we go through a lot of discrimination. And when it comes to women positions, whether appointment or elective positions, men would always tend to ask us questions. Who has married you? Who did you give birth to children with? And I want to thank this committee and this proud parliament for rising to the occasion and allowing a woman who is diligent, qualified, educated, exposed, and experienced an opportunity to be our first data commissioner. Mr. Speaker, this woman has a very important role to see that she implements the Data Protection Act 2019. This is our first act ever in place. And now that this world has gone digital, and that majority of us, we are overexposed to the digital world, there is all need for the government to be the guardian angel and to protect Kenyans from the abuse on the social spaces. The first data commissioner has a duty to see that she establishes and maintain a register. And this is a register in control of the data controllers and for also data processor, and to see that majority of the people who are dealing with our very personal and private information, not to mention our banks, the M-Pesas of this world, the Mshwaris, and people who are also lending us money, we are not overexposed to abuse of our personal information. And our first data commissioner, I'm very hopeful that her name will be approved this afternoon. She has the role of exercising oversight on data operations in this country. She has also an engagement to see that she receives any complaints from any Kenyan who feel that their right has been infringed. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, we will bring to an end the culture of people who are being oppressed online, and people who, in a way, would lead to a lot of suspicion anytime this country has an election. Mr. Speaker, I have just heard the member for Endebess talk about Donald Trump and the US election, Mr. Speaker. And I want to believe there is no good reason for any person to be worried, because our data belongs to us the same way. Nobody has an upper hand to misuse or to abuse any data so that they can make any candidate win an election. And therefore, for purposes of people who have jitters and are worried and who want to imagine that the first data commissioner, her role is to make a certain candidate not to win or to pass elections in the year 2022, we wish to inform them to relax, calm down. We want to take care of their money. We want to take care of their wealth. We want to take care of their data. We want to take care of their information. And for purposes of people who propagated, Mr. Speaker, that the reason why the government has been busy talking about Huduma number and encouraging Kenyans that we need to go digital, Mr. Speaker, is for one reason, that we must protect their data. Those of us who have been worried that we are going to, or the government is going to take advantage of their Huduma number to make anybody win or lose an election, we want them to tell them to relax. We have given you a good lady, we have given you a commissioner, we have given you equivalent of your wife, equivalent of your mother and your daughters, and somebody who is going to take care of the data and move this country forward. Allow me to congratulate this lady and ask this House and our ladies, our men, you are our brothers, our husbands, our everything. Support this lady and let's approve her name today. Thank you and congratulations to Mrs. Kasait.
Member for Migori.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this noble opportunity to add my voice to the members who have gone ahead of me. Mr. Speaker, I've just heard one of the members shouting that she's a miss. I think you can approach her. It is okay, as the women support. But whether she's a miss or Mrs., what is making us happy as women is that we have found one of our own to establish the first database of this country. Mr. Speaker, as we are all aware, most of Kenyans are actually struggling right from birth. I think in the morning in this House, we were discussing the concept of having devolved data collection census, especially for giving our children birth certificates. And I think this commission is a very important one, and it is also very important that a woman has gotten the first opportunity to lead this commission, and it is our hope that we are supporting in the strength that she is going to do a thorough job and to make sure that we collect all our data right from birth to adulthood, and wherever Kenyans are, the government of Kenya should be able to place them. I think the question of data protection and collection is a fundamental one, because even when it comes to distributing resources in this country, it is sad that even up to this age, we are still talking about marginalized sections of this country. Why? Because in most cases, the government of Kenya doesn't have clear data of who is where. And I think with a lady of this magnitude at the realm of this commission, she should be keen enough to make sure that every Kenyan is not left behind, whether small or big, persons with disability, whether they are male or female, all of us are included in this database and our data is protected. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the committee that took their time to vet this lady. I'm most impressed by the fact that they were able to split the issue of constitutional crimes to the individual ability of this lady. And therefore, I want to congratulate the committee, I want to congratulate Immaculate, and I want to urge her that as we approve and as we allow her to take position, let her prove to Kenyans that she is actually capable of doing the right job and making every Kenyan count wherever they are. We want to know those who are alive where. We want to know how many are our youth where, how many are the women, how many are the men, the old age. And so as we plan and as we discuss very important issues on how to support all the citizens of this country, then we are able to make informed decisions based on data which is not hurriedly created.
data which has been there and data which can be proven and data which can be accessed at any time of the day. Mr. Speaker, it is my prayer that this House is going to approve this name, and then when Our Lady takes her position, all Kenyans will count by the end of the day, and none of us will ever go missing from this database. With that, Mr. Speaker, I support.
Member for Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm a member of this ICT committee, and I'm proud to say that we have a marvelous woman, a marvelous lady. She navigated through the questions in a manner that everybody could be convinced that she was the best placed. I purely support the lady.
A member for Homa Bay Township, are you in an intervention? Yeah.
Mr. Speaker, I could raise it after it's done. Mr. Speaker, noting from the time the debate started, everybody is supporting. And that is why I was asking, Mr. Speaker, that considering the weight of the order paper we see before the House today, would we be right to move that
we want to feel loyal
to reply?
After I finish.
Well, this is right to raise the point of order.
Yes.
Let the member for Larry finish his contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Mlele, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I heard the member for Larry say that he's a member of this committee, and this lady is marvelous. I'm wondering how this marvelous, whether this committee was marveling at this lady. What was it that is marvelous? This term, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, really it makes me wonder what this committee was doing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think my good friend there, the Speaker also, I was just starting. I was trying to build my case of how wonderful this lady was in navigating through the questions that she was asked. She was asked any question and she could answer with eloquence. She took us through all the issues, through the issues that ICJ were asking, and she could navigate in a manner that anybody in this committee was convinced that she could be the best placed. She was also placed top position when she was interviewed by PSC. She's also the nominee of the president, and we all ought to support the good things that she has done. I know some members have raised the issue of the IEBC. She took us through her non-capability. She took us through all the issues that she was doing then. She was in voter registration. She was not responsible. Lady called Kasait, and she's the best place to take this job. The other point is that she's ready to engage all the stakeholders. She's talking about engaging stakeholders who are usually who are tasked with data, the banks, MNOs, that is the mobile networks operators. She's able to contact all the stakeholders so that people who could misuse our data are culpable. And she's ready also to bring in what we call self-regulation in terms of data management, rather than punishment to the courts every day when data is mishandled. So when she took us through her vision, she's able to nurture the culture of us trusting in our data. Because Kenya, we have this habit. When a person is chosen, we think she's chosen for another party or for another group. She demonstrated that she will be able to nurture a culture of protecting our data from misuse. We have insurance companies which are linked even to world other insurance companies. How is our data used out there in Europe, in jails, where people are conning others? She demonstrated to us how she will be able to protect the data of every Kenyan citizen, whether man, woman, child, because there is also child pornography. And she was also able to say how she will protect. I support the appointment of Immaculate Kasait. Thank you.
Now, honourable members, I can see, there's the order in which you have all placed your requests. And the one that is following now is the member for Alego Songa.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say, Honourable Speaker, that when I heard the President announcing Ms. Kasait as the new Data Commissioner, I was a bit perturbed, Honourable Speaker, and I said I would oppose the nomination. But having listened to the report by the committee and the subsequent submission by the Honourable Watch, member for Madare, I have now changed my mind and I'm now supporting her. But, Honourable Speaker, I was opposing because of her activities in the discredited IBC. And I don't want to go into that because now I'm supporting. But Chair, Honourable Speaker, I wanted to say that now that I'm supporting her, I want to give her a piece of advice. And my advice, Honourable Speaker, is that I would like her to be a bold data commissioner. Because, Honourable Speaker, you know very well that in the communication sector, there are several multinationals that have abused information from Kenyans. They have sold it out. They have used it to do business and to trade. And therefore, the new data commissioner really, she must be able to be very bold and to rein on some of these corporates. Secondly, Honourable Speaker, I want to say that I've gone through the Data Protection Act, number 24, 2019, that establishes the Office of the Data Commissioner. And I've not seen anywhere, Honourable Speaker, where this office is supposed to serve only women. And I'm saying this, Honourable Speaker, because before my female colleagues have been making their submissions, it has appeared to me that this is a position that is going to serve only one gender. And, Honourable Speaker, I feel like my female colleagues, they try to make some of these appointments look like it is meant to serve women. And this office is supposed to serve everybody in this country. So in future, I want to urge my female colleagues, don't take these women, these female appointees to be, people meant to serve you, I heard my sister there saying, as women, we are very lucky. You are lucky for what? This office is for everybody. This is somebody supposed to serve all Kenyans. Yeah, so as much as I support, let it be known that the continual, referencing of these positions. And in future, by the way, if you continue this way, then we are going to ask all male members to oppose all women appointments. Because you are behaving like, these female positions are meant for you. Honourable Speaker, I submit and I support. Thank you.
Now I'll follow with that so that you can see, you will see for yourselves how people place their requests. Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion. As my colleague, Honourable Tandi, has said, I had reservations about her appointment, and my reservation arose from two issues that are very clear. Honourable Speaker, I come from a fishing community, and in a fishing community, once you land and you find one of the fish rotten, most of the buyers will not touch your consignment because one of them is rotten. Having worked at IBC 2013 and 2017, and without doubt having had disputed and contested elections, it is practically impossible to believe that she emerged without blemish. But we also say in our community, you can remove the rotten fish, clean the rest, dry them up, and pick one that's not badly rotten and go sell it, it will be bought. Secondly, Honourable Speaker, I'm a catechist. I went to school, to catechism classes, and we were told the story of Saul on the road to Damascus, and I do believe she has walked that route, and she could be now believing that Kenya is more important than serving restricted political intentions of that particular time. Honourable Speaker, Thirdly, as I support, is an issue, again, about the women affair. Looking at the results, the interview results, she beat 2 other men. So this clamor by women to be doled out free balls without putting up a fight is something that should be gotten out of the mind of women. They are capable of competing like anybody else. We are against anybody else. And I think it is important that our women all over, wherever they are, it is time to stand up and be counted to avoid being treated like flower girls, so that we only dole to you jobs that requires a special treatment. Honorable Speaker, the position of data protection commissioner is critical. In this country, whichever way you look at it, elections will always be contested. Whichever way you look at it, telecoms misuse people's data. Many times, you receive calls, SMS, you wonder where they have come from. Honorable Speaker, I can amuse you. During the last election, my opponent even sent me a message requesting me to vote for him in the ODM party primaries, where I had gotten that information, my telephone number, it emerged, picked from M-Pesa data as Safaricom. It is important that the Data Protection Commissioner should actually work and ensure this kind of nonsense has to stop once and for all. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, we are talking now Huduma number. Huduma number is such a critical set of data that if we don't find a way of protecting that data, it's going to become a scam, it's going to become a sham. Many of us, as we are here, we receive so many calls from committee prison asking, please open the door, we are outside here, we want to come and kill you. We do believe that give us either money or we are coming for you now. We do believe the new act plus her office now that she has no choice, she's on the way to Damascus, she has to demonstrate that the past blemish was not her making, it was an act of guilt by association so that she cleans herself. She redeems herself for bigger things in life. For those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Member for Garissa Township.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to, after reading the report of the committee, I don't want to say that the nominee, until approved by this House, is fabulous, is wonderful. I think the best person to answer that is a member of this House. A member of this House can tell us whether the nominee is wonderful, is good. Our function as the House is to deal with Madam Kasait in how she answered questions before the ICT committee. And on the basis of that is we interrogate her and support the report of the committee. Speaker, in 2010 Constitution, Article 31, talks about the protection of privacy. And for many years, Kenya did not have a data protection law. Lucky, and I want to thank this House, last year, 2019, July, we passed the Data Protection Act, 2019. And I'm happy it's not part of the laws that the Senate went to court on. So the law exists. And the functions of the work that is cut out for Madam Kasait is provided in the Data Protection Act. Whether she was fabulous, whether she is wonderful, the moment this House approves her, her functions and her business, and the Speaker, there was a member who was saying she's Miss or Miss. No, Madam Kasait is Mrs. And the other half is in this House. If you want more details, you can look for that member. For him or her, but it's him. Anyway, let me say him. So what is Madam Kasai supposed to do that we were lacking before? Under the Act, she's supposed to lead in promoting self-regulation among the data controllers and processors in our country. As we speak today, we want an enforcement. So she's going to lead a team of men and women who will make sure that self-regulation among data controllers and processors is in place. Her agency, as a lead person, she is supposed to conduct an assessment to find out whether information is processed according to the provision of this Act and other relevant laws. So even her, she has to act within the law, find out whether it is the banks, whether it is other service providers, the data they are processing is in compliance of the law of this Act. Under her leadership, if this House approves her, she's supposed to maintain and establish a register on all the data controllers and processors. As we speak today, there's no register. There are as many data processors, some of them quacks. There are as many data controllers, some of them who are not registered, some of them are foreign, some are local. So she must keep and maintain a register. She must also, in her capacity as a data commissioner, receive and investigate complaints by anybody, any entity, any individual in our country who, in one way or the other, his rights, his data rights have been, or his privacy has been infringed. So now we have an avenue that we can. Mr. Speaker, she has a function of inspection of all private and public entities. You know, the days of tukihesabu, wanahesabu, it will be over. There will be no issue of putting someone in a cloud. The server must be known who is keeping the server. Mr. Speaker, the law, she must deal with the lawful processing of data. Registration of data, controllers and processors is under her function. And Mr. Speaker, finally, there is a principle in the Act, the principle and obligation of personal data protection is under her domain. So, Mr. Speaker, let us not talk about fabulous, wonderful. We have made a law that will guide Madam Kasai, and let us not judge her from where she worked. And any Kenyan who works in IBC, is he daunted just because one or two few people...
Honorable Oduor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for opportunity to contribute to this report. Mr. Speaker, on the onset, I would like to thank the committee and indeed, Mr. Speaker, appreciate that in this report, there is a very clear demonstration, Mr. Speaker, that leadership and responsibility is gender neutral. Mr. Speaker, I am extremely happy that I get an opportunity to speak on this. A day after, Mr. Speaker, we looked at a gender and development policy that was being reviewed after 20 years. And Honorable Speaker, as honorable members, my very own member of parliament, Honorable Atandi, was getting a bit concerned, Mr. Speaker, by the manner of engagement. I want, as I support the appointment of Immaculate, Mr. Speaker, to indicate that indeed, as the report shows, her appointment is informed by competence. It is informed indeed by the way in which she is seen to be suitable based on criteria set out by the Public Appointment Act. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, the report clearly demonstrates that even when there were indications or questions that were raised, that she was able to respond. And so, Mr. Speaker, as I support this nominee, I do it with a lot of pride and gratitude that a lot of the issues that have eluded Kenya for years, the whole idea of why we need a gender policy and the distinction that the gender policy draws so that, Honorable Speaker, we do not, when we are dealing with a nominee, seek to find out whether she is Miss or Mrs. What we need to do, Honorable Speaker, is always to be aware that there might be times when her own qualifications or her ability might not be taken into account on account or because of her gender. And so, Honorable Speaker, I am supporting and indeed saying that the committee has done a great job, because we can see that looking at this appointment, we are focusing on the institution and we are ensuring that we present the institution with the individual whose abilities will indeed serve the purpose that we are looking for. Honorable Speaker, I would want to use this opportunity also to help us to remember, Honorable Speaker, that whenever we do have opportunity to deal with Kenyans as citizens, we remember that some will be female and some will be male, Honorable Speaker, and that we avoid the tendency to burden those who are female with guilt and shame, Honorable Speaker, and sometimes to make them look ridiculous, Honorable Speaker, because I must, Honorable Speaker, say that it is a bit unfortunate that we would, looking at somebody of this qualification in an assignment that is this honorable, that we would, Honorable Speaker, look to try and deal with issues that would then reduce the seriousness, not just of the candidate, but of the process. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want, as I congratulate the committee, to register that indeed we are looking forward to a situation where, as a data commissioner, we will look to addressing issues of online abuse, a lot of fraud, trafficking, and a lot of personal data, including, Honorable Speaker, instances where sometimes as members of this Honorable House, you get messages from people whose identity you really do not have an idea of. And so, Honorable Speaker, I want to say with this that I support the report and indeed congratulate Immaculate for enabling us, Honorable Speaker, to look at the competence, to look at fluency, and not to just focus on the position of a woman. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
See, the member for Yatta has an intervention. I hope it's not an intervention.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on Order 95 in view of the fact that, Mr. Speaker, there have been many contributions, all in support, that the mover be called to reply.
Well, honour members, you know, now this is the second time the Honourable Kaluma raised the same issue. I think I never put it to you. I put the question, which is that the mover be called upon to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Those of counter opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Mover. Mover, Honorable Kisang.
Honorable Speaker, I have 5 minutes, and I have a neighbor of mine here. I don't know if I don't give him 1 minute. And it's not allowed.
You are replying.
It's not. I'm told it's not allowed. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the members for the contributions, and I want to report to the House that the sentiments that were mentioned by Honorable John Amburu, MB Larry, are not sentiments of the committee. Maybe the member was carried away, and maybe got admire the lady, and I want to tell him that the lady is married. She's Mrs. Kasaid. So those are your sentiments and not the committee sentiments. Honorable Speaker, I want to tell this House also that the nominee, she's very competent. She told us she's a team leader, while at IPC she was able to do so many manuals, and she promised that within a year she's going to ensure that Directorate of Data Protection will be in place, and she'll be able to employ competent staff who will assist her, because if you look at the requirements of appointment, you also need some data science knowledge or ICT knowledge. And she said among the directors that she's going to employ, will be those with those relevant knowledges in ICT and data science. Honorable Speaker, we will also have an opportunity as a country to register data processors, data controllers. IEPC, where she worked, is one of the entities that will be a data controller, at the same time a data processor, and she said there will be no conflict of interest because she's going to live there, resign as an employee, and join the Ministry of ICT as a data commissioner if this House approves. Honorable Speaker, I wanted to also report that as a committee, we have said going forward, we want this particular data commissioner to be independent. We'll be coming maybe in the course of next session, next year, when the directorate is set, to delink this particular directorate from Ministry of ICT so that there is no interference by the ministry, so that basically the data commissioner is independent completely. Honorable Speaker, with all those remarks we have noted, and we want to tell members, thank you very much for your contributions, congratulate the lady, and basically if the House approves, I believe soon, because of the court case that also compelled the executive that a data commissioner be appointed so that Huduma numbers are released. I believe now soon Huduma numbers will be issued to Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply.
Honourable members, I put the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Communication, Information and Innovation in its report on the vetting of a nominee for appointment as a data commissioner, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 3, 2020, and pursuant to Section 6, subsection 4 of the Data Protection Act 2019, and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of Ms. Immaculate Kasait as the Data Commissioner. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, special motion, approval of nominees for appointment as high commissioners, ambassadors, and permanent representatives.
Chairman, Departmental Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations, Honorable Kato.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Defense, Foreign Relations in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as ambassadors, high commissioners, and permanent representatives, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 132, Subclause 2, Subclause E of the Constitution, and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as high commissioners, ambassadors, and permanent representatives. 1, Ambassador John Tippis, Station High Commissioner to Canberra, Australia. 2, Ms. Immaculate Wambua as High Commissioner to Ottawa, Canada. 3, Ambassador Catherine Mwangi as High Commissioner to Pretoria, South Africa. 4, Ambassador Martin Kimani as permanent representatives to the United Nations, New York. 5, Ambassador Jean Kimani as permanent representatives to UN Habitat, Nairobi. 6, Ambassador Tom Amolo as ambassador to Berlin, Germany. 7, Mr. Lindsay Kiptines as ambassador to Bangkok, Thailand. 8, Ambassador Daniel Wambura as ambassador to Bujumbura, Burundi. 9, Ms. Stella Munyi as ambassador to Harare, Zimbabwe. 10, Major General retired Samuel Nandwa as ambassador to Juba, South Sudan. 11, Ambassador, the nominee to Khartoum, Sudan is Major General retired Ngewa Mukala. 12, Ambassador Benson Ogutu as ambassador to Moscow, Russia. 13, Mr. Joshua Gatimu as ambassador to Tehran, Iran. And 14, Ambassador Tabu Irina as ambassador to Tokyo, Japan. Mr. Speaker, let me add 2 names because the letter which was sent by His Excellency the President to the House on 15th October 2020, they were 16. The other 2 is Ambassador Jean Kimani, not Kimani, Jean Kamau, as ambassador to Addis Ababa, that is Ethiopia. And there was also Ambassador Lamaron Kanto as ambassador to Brazil. So there were 16. And first of all, Mr. Speaker, the House will agree with me that 90% of the nominees, as I read the names, they already have the title ambassadors, meaning they are actually serving ambassadors, either at the headquarters of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or being moved from a certain station to another one. That makes the work easier, that this is actually career diplomats. And Mr. Speaker, the last 2 that I have added at the last, that is Ambassador Jean Kamau and Ambassador Lamaron Kanto, we perused our records of the House and we realized that the 2 of them were vetted on 10th September 2014 and 19th June 2019 respectively. And so they are being moved from the previous stations where the House approved for and now being taken to other stations, and therefore they did not require further vetting. So therefore, we vetted 14. It's also good, Mr. Speaker, for the House to note that for the first time, and with the approval of the Speaker, the committee applied Standing Order number 265A and vetted 2 nominees virtually, and in strict compliance and adherence to the Ministry of Health COVID-19 protocols, as the 2 nominees had tested positive to COVID-19, and therefore, in accordance with Standing Order number 265A, we vetted them virtually. And actually, they are on their way to recovery. One of them, a day before vetting, had already done the first test after the 14 days of isolation, and he tested negative. But the rule is you have to test negative 3 consecutive tests. So they are okay. They perform very well in the virtual vetting. Mr. Speaker, when we received these names as a requirement of the law, Parliament wrote to, that is specifically National Assembly, wrote to the institution authorized by law to undertake some investigation on these nominees on matters touching on integrity, tax compliance, loans repayment, and political party affiliations. And these institutions are the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Higher Education Law Board, Kenya Revenue Authority, and political parties. And all of them approved or cleared these nominees. Again, as a requirement of the law, National Assembly also placed on the in the media for public participation, and the 7 days notice was given pursuant to Article 118 of the Constitution, and also Section 6, Subclause 4 of the Public Appointment and Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, and also in our own standing order, specifically Standing Order number 45, subclause 3, and the public did not write anything, either for or against these nominees, save for one letter, which was just a testimonial letter, written in support of one nominee, and therefore it wasn't really a memorandum. It did not meet the threshold as required. Mr. Speaker, I saw the media carrying out issues to do with age of these nominees. Actually, the age is between 49 to 62 of all these nominees, but there is no age required for one to be appointed as an ambassador or a high commissioner, because even if you retire, the appointing authority can actually appoint you on a contract basis to serve as a high commissioner or an ambassador. These nominees, Mr. Speaker, they are well experienced. In fact, these nominees, they all have over 20 years experience in public service. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, that these are already serving public or civil servants. Out of the 14 that we vetted, 11 of them are career diplomats already serving in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And they have served, all of them. Each of them have served for over 20 years as a career diplomat, 11 out of the 14. The other 3, Mr. Speaker, are retired, very senior officers of the discipline forces, Mr. Speaker. So they are also civil servants, Mr. Speaker. And one thing we noted as a committee is that it is very good, actually it is very motivating to see that the staff at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs are being given this chance to serve their country as ambassadors and high commissioners. It actually instills professionalism. It also improves career progression, and they are very happy, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, because I can see my time is really, I don't know why it's running so fast. I also want to say, though there isn't a specific requirement in academic qualification, like holding a degree to serve in this position, it's also good to know that they are all graduates, experienced Kenyans, all of them. And in terms of gender, it was okay. 5 are female out of 14. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I would really wish to request the House that they agree with the committee and approve all these nominees for the positions proposed by His Excellency the President to serve. With those few remarks, I beg to move and request Honorable Charles Kilonzo to second. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kilonzo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I do wish to second. And as I second, Mr. Speaker, as my chairman said, the committee was very keen. In particular, one particular seat, Mr. Speaker. You all recall that recently Kenya was elected to the position of non-permanent, got a position of non-permanent in the United Nations Security Council, Mr. Speaker. So we were very keen. We wanted to know who has been appointed to that position, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, for the benefit of members present, the appointing authority, Mr. Speaker, rose to the occasion and appointed, nominated one, Ambassador Martin Kimani, to the UN, New York. Ambassador Kimani, Mr. Speaker, is a holder of Bachelor of Arts in Philosophy from the University of New Hampshire in the US, and also a Master's of Arts in War Studies from King's College, London. In addition, Mr. Speaker, he has pursued a PhD in War Studies from King's College, University of London. He has served as a permanent representative with the rank of Ambassador, Extraordinary. He has also served as in the permanent mission to the UN office in Nairobi. He has also served with the UN, that is UNEP, and human settlement, within the Human Settlement Program, Mr. Speaker. Currently, he serves as a Secretary, Strategic Initiatives in the Executive Office of the President. But Mr. Speaker, looking at all his CV, Mr. Speaker, is very clear we got the right person for that job, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, also for the interest of the committee, we had one lady by the name Ambassador Tabu Irina, who is a nominee to Tokyo. Mr. Speaker, Ambassador Tabu Irina had, for about a period of 6 years, if you do recall, Mr. Speaker, under the new constitution, which was enacted in the year 2010, you cannot hold office as a state officer if you hold dual citizenship, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, again, under the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012, you do recall, members, again, that it says very clearly that all public officers shall be considered as state officers. This lady, Mr. Speaker, was born in Montreal in Canada in 1968 and has been holding dual citizenship until she renounced it in the year 2018. Mr. Speaker, I've decided to bring this up because you know we have had another case here. And we did want to know why, Mr. Speaker, why she renounced citizenship. And again, Mr. Speaker, why she had served for 6 years, knowing that what the law says. But Mr. Speaker, it was very clear. This lady had no interest of being a citizen of Canada, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, to conclude, out of the 14 who appeared before us, the 14 nominees, 3 were not career diplomats. But Mr. Speaker, looking at the experience, and in particular, if you look at Major General, there are 2 Major Generals, Mr. Speaker. And if you look at one Major General, Mr. Speaker, he rose to the rank, and this is Major General Ngewa Mukala. He rose to the rank to become Commander Kenya Navy, and he has a Master's of Science in Defense Studies in India. And Mr. Speaker, these are people who bring a lot of wealth in experience in the diplomatic service. But Mr. Speaker, we noted there was a lot of interest in the media as we are doing vetting on the issue of vetting, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the diplomatic world, if you are to appoint a very young ambassador and post him to a country like any other country, Mr. Speaker, they look at it very negatively, Mr. Speaker. So I would urge people to understand that also age is gold. When you post somebody of this rank, this seniority in age, Mr. Speaker, you are taken very seriously, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, for those who are saying that this old generation should not be considered, Mr. Speaker, it is wrong. If you look at the number of ambassadors who are sent here, a big number of them, Mr. Speaker, are senior citizens of their country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I support.
On record. Did you, did I use it? I had you say something out of record.
Mr. Speaker, with those few remarks, I wish to second.
Well, I propose the question, which is that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Defense and Foreign Relations in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as ambassadors, high commissioners, and permanent representatives, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 132, Clause 2, Paragraph E of the Constitution, and Section 8 of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act 2011, this House approves the appointment of the following persons as High Commissioners, Ambassadors, and Permanent Representatives. 1, Ambassador John Tippis, Station High Commissioner to Canberra, Australia. 2, Ms. Immaculate Wambua, High Commissioner to Ottawa, Canada. 3, Ambassador Catherine Mwangi, High Commissioner to Pretoria, South Africa. 4, Ambassador Martin Kimani, Permanent Representative to United Nations, New York. 5, Ambassador Jean Kimani, Permanent Representative to UN Habitat, Nairobi. 6, Ambassador Tom Amolo, Ambassador to Berlin, Germany. Mr. Lindsay Kiptines, Ambassador to Bangkok, Thailand, Ambassador Daniel Wambura, Ambassador to Bujumbura, Burundi, Ms. Stella Munyi, Ambassador to Harare, Zimbabwe, Major General retired Samuel Nandwa, Ambassador to Juba, South Sudan, Major General retired Ngewa Mukala, Ambassador to Khartoum, Sudan, Ambassador Benson Ogutu, Ambassador to Moscow, Russia, Mr. Joshua Gatimo, Ambassador to Tehran, Iran, and Ambassador Tabu Irina, Ambassador to Tokyo, Japan. Member for Migori.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity once again to speak about the current topic of discussion. I rise to support the adoption of the report from the Committee of Defense and Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I will be very brief. I think I want to concur with the committee. I took personal interest to research, at least to know a little more about these nominees. And Mr. Speaker, I agree that quite a number of them have got not only very high level of education, but also a wealth of experience. And actually, adding to their age, I think some of these appointments and positions, we need people who are well versed with the environment here at home and where they are sent to represent the President of Kenya and the people of Kenya in these foreign countries. And so, Mr. Speaker, in the spirit of inclusivity, I want to encourage Kenyans of all categories to know that the young, the middle-aged, and the old, all of us form the mixture that can actually steer this country forward. And so, posting of these ambassadors and high commissioners, we would like to let Kenyans know that when they are actually acting and speaking in the interest of Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, the only thing that I would like to urge, even as I support the committee in their urge to approve these names, is that as they take up their positions, I would like to request and urge them to actually look at repositioning Kenya in trading activities with these countries and any other relations, so that we get quality from all these places where they have been posted. Mr. Speaker, Kenya is a peace-loving country, and I think what we are looking forward to getting from these men and women of status in our country is that promotion of that peace, promotion of development, promotion of Kenyan citizens to also be getting equal opportunities in the agenda that relates our country to others, so that we are not looked at as a lesser country, but whatever relationship that they will be promoting, whatever agenda that we are propagating, Kenyans get their rightful positions in terms of participation, in terms of development, in terms of the decisions that are fostering relationships between our country and the countries where they are posted. Mr. Speaker, with that, I want to support.
Member for Taita Taveta.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for also giving me an opportunity to add my voice to this. And from the onset, Mr. Speaker, I want to start by congratulating the committee for a good report, a work well done. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say, having listened to the report, I have learned that most of these nominees are already, are practicing, they are ambassadors practicing. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I want to support, and by saying that it seems they are already knowledgeable in what they're supposed to do, they are already informed, and we should give them a chance to continue developing their career, because their career diplomats. And in a special way, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate one Tabu Irina. I know her very well, and I know she's going to she's going to represent our country very well in Tokyo. And I want to say I support the report, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Kaviani.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I also rise to serve the appointment of those individuals into the various capacities in ambassadorial or high commissioner jobs around the world. Mr. Speaker, the first reason that I give for this is because when you look at that list, Mr. Speaker, and you read out the names, you can see a representation of the face of this country. We are talking about Tipis, Wambua, Mwangi, Amolo, Kiptines, Munyi, Nadwa, Mukala, Ogutu, Irina. Mr. Speaker, this is the kind of appointments that we are proud to be associated with, because it shows that the government has actually identified these people by their abilities and also considered the regions they come from. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, a lot of these individuals are also retired military personnel. And I must say that coming from a military family, I do know the kind of training that our Kenyan military is actually taken through. And when they retire, these are individuals that have tremendous ability and experience that can actually be used to better this nation. So when we see some of these names that are floated and are used in ensuring that they market this country, I think that's a very important thing. Mr. Speaker, one of the purposes or the responsibilities that these individuals will have is to market this country, wherever they will be. Kenya has always been a major tourist attraction and destination for tourists. And you know that that position is going. People are able to go to other countries more than they are coming to Kenya. So they need to find a way of ensuring that they can market this country so that people out there can remember the great Kenya of yesteryears. Mr. Speaker, also, we must also ensure that we build our trading partnership with other nations. In particular, I would say South Sudan. I'm seeing Samuel Nadwa going to South Sudan. It's important that they try and build a relationship for business partnership so that the business that would have come through Kenya is enhanced, because I've noticed that in the recent past, a lot of business is actually going through Uganda. And it is important that South Sudan recognizes the role Kenya has played in ensuring that they have peace within their borders. Mr. Speaker, also they must figure out how to ensure that the outlet for our agricultural produce is also improved, because Kenya has primarily been an agricultural nation. We depended on a lot of cash crops, but we've seen in the recent past the prices are dropping, the management of this crop is not good. So if the market is enhanced, we will be able to improve the stakes of our people. But Mr. Speaker, finally, I would like to say that we must also find a way, and these individuals must find a way, of ensuring that this negative impression of this nation doesn't keep getting out there. Because as a nation, we have a responsibility to ensure that all our partners see us as a nation that is progressive. And the current situation and the current activities that we have seen leaders in this country portray do not show us in very good light. Recently, Mr. Speaker, there was this meeting in Bomas of Kenya. It's a national meeting. The head of state was seated there with his partners, and his deputy stood, and in front of the full glare of media, continue to criticize bitterly everything that the president stood for. I think it's important because the example we set, we are also showing partners out there whether we respect each other. We are also showing our children the kind of respect that we should have for each other. So I think let us find a way of marketing Kenya in a positive manner because we want this country to grow to the next destination. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that opportunity.
Member for KU South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also support the report of the committee. I only have two reservations, Honorable Speaker. The particular issue of age vis-a-vis experience. We are given big words about experience. A 49-year-old, a 52-year-old is experience. We do not have to unpick the people who are retired, who are 62, 65. Honestly speaking, when will we actually give opportunity for the young to serve in these positions? The question is this: what is experience? How many years is experience? We are talking about some individuals who have been mentioned here are 65 years old. We have individuals who are 54 years old, Honorable Speaker, who are experienced of 35 years old, 35 years experience. Do we call that experience? Do we need to get somebody who is 65? Do we need our people to be serving who are past the retirement age? We need to bring laws in this house to stop this business of actually giving jobs to people who are retired. It should stop, Honorable Speaker, with due respect. Number two, Honorable Speaker, we have been given the words here of those who have served as generals in the army and of course in the military and so forth. I really do not see what is so important about serving in the military vis-a-vis serving in the foreign land. We don't have, there are no guns to be handled in those areas, Honorable Speaker. We are talking about marketing the country, negotiating trade in other countries for our country. We are not talking about issues of military. This is actually giving them, you are bribing the military who have been serving because they have been serving as a military, not because they are going to serve us in foreign land. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, I want to re-emphasize that as we give these people the mandate to come and to go and serve this country, let them serve this country knowing that they are our picture. They are Kenya. Wherever they are Kenya. Whatever they talk, they are talking as Kenya. Because wherever they are actually the president of that country. I mean, they are president of Kenya in that country. One thing that we should never miss, Honorable Speaker, is even as we approve these names, let's not repeat this business of actually allowing retired people to continue serving while we have a multitude of people who have no jobs, who have experience. We have our youths who can move in tandem, in the line, that so that as we serve, others come in to also work in our positions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well spoken, especially on a time when the greatest democracy on earth is having two contestants, all of who are beyond 70. Member for Kabondo Kaspul.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I too will be very brief. And I want to say that I support the report of the committee and support a recommendation to appoint the 14 names as listed here. Mr. Speaker, I have noted that these are career diplomats. They have already served in other stations, and we have not had any adverse reports against them. I therefore say that they have the requisite qualifications, they have the experience, and I believe that they will serve the country well. Mr. Speaker, there is the issue of age, and really some of these positions call for maturity on the positions that they serve, and I really have no problem with their age. There are several other jobs in this country that people can apply for, but I believe in the wisdom of the president in appointing these ladies and gentlemen on these positions. Once again, not to take too much time, I support. Thank you.
Member for Nambale.
I just thought, Honourable Speaker, sir, that I support the set of appointments that have been made. We are at a time, Mr. Speaker, sir, in which Kenya's image needs to go back to the golden days. And these career diplomats being appointed know their job. I presume they understand current Kenya very well, and will be able to help us as we move into the next phase of leadership. I support.
Member for Marakwet West.
Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the report of the committee on the approval of the 14 nominees as ambassadors and high commissioners to foreign missions. Honorable Speaker, from the committee's reports, we are happy to see that most of the nominees are employees of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These are people who have served in the capacity maybe as directors, as ambassadors, and they're being promoted. And this will help and also ensure that those who are working, they know there is hope, so that the appointing authority does not only appoint ambassadors from outside and not promoting from within. Honorable Speaker, from the list, I want to say I'm very happy as the MP for Marakwet West, or coming from Marakwet region. The first time since Moi regime, this is the first time we are getting as second ambassador in the name of Lindsay Kiptinis, who has been a career diplomat. He started as a teacher from Sirkoit Secondary School, all the way becoming a district officer for a long time, becoming a protocol officer, a foreign officer, becoming a director in charge of Asia, Australia, and Pacific Directorate. And this is a particular person who has experience of over 27 years in the civil service. We are happy, and we want to say thank you, the appointing authority, for the first time for recognizing a marginalized community like the Marakwets. Honorable Speaker, I have listened to my colleague. There is also Korea. Yeah, at least, we are seeing the face of Kenya. We are seeing the face of Kenya in these 14 appointments. And one of the other issues, the reason why I support is we have 5 ladies out of 14. So basically the 2/3 gender rule is basically applied. Honorable Speaker, is about the retired generals. We know the retired generals served our country very well, but I'm happy that from the list, one of them is being posted to Southern Sudan, where we know there are issues there. Maybe in the wisdom of the appointing authority, they decided to send a retired general, maybe as to assist in the course of his time there. There is likely to help so that peace is brought back to that country, and business is between Kenya and Southern Sudan is improved, because I'm told there is also a road that is being built from Nadabal all the way to Southern Sudan and also to Lamu port, so that we can export, the South Sudan can export the oil through the port of Lamu. The other general has been proposed to be sent to Sudan and Somali. So basically, these are countries that have conflicts, and since there are conflicts, maybe these are the right people who are going there with their cans, as Honorable Rona said. So I don't want to say much. I just want to say thank you very much. At least now Kenya and Marakwet are on the pace of Kenya. I support.
Honorable Oduor.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to support from the onset the nominees that have been presented to the House. Honorable Speaker, mainly because it is clear from the report of the committee that the nominees have the requisite qualifications, they have competence. And Honorable Speaker, I particularly feel pleased because from the perspective of what has bedeviled Kenya time and time again, and what has made a number of Kenyans feel...
Sorry, Honorable Professor, let me interrupt you. I just want to address the members who are going, who have spoken. Very well, that you are happy that you recognize so and so has been included, the other one has been included. So you are leaving for them to be passed by who? You wanted to just say, you know, this one is going to be a very good ambassador in that place. You have spoken and you go. So who is going to approve them? I mean, surely. You know, it's not enough to say that you have seen now a person from your community has been appointed, and you after speaking, you walk away. So you leave them to be approved by who? Unless you say we just throw the names out. So you will have spoken, but it will have amounted, it will count for zero. Surely, I think, honourable members, let us also be serious. When we want to contribute, merely because we know some villager has been given some job, and then after that you take off. So you are saying you are telling the others who do not have villagers in the list, hiyo kazi ni yenu, tuwapitishia ni hao ni wetu. Tumesema, tumewaambia tunawajua. I mean, surely, let's be serious and because we expect that contribution is not just about the people you know. It should be something that adds value. And remember, this is an approval. So when you go, when you contribute and all go, you can bet there will be no question put, therefore they will not be approved. So what benefit will have been your contribution? Sorry, Professor, I want you an extra 2 minutes. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. I appreciate the sentiment, Honorable Speaker, because what you provide as guidance is one of the reasons, Honorable Speaker, that as I support the nominees, I wanted particularly that we as Kenyans begin to develop a culture where we look at representation in a broader sense. I support the nominees, Honorable Speaker, as I indicated, because of the competence, the qualification, but most importantly for the sense of inclusivity that as we look at it, addresses the strong feeling that Kenyans tend to identify with when they seek to look for regional balance, Honorable Speaker, which we have. Honorable Speaker, I know that we have had a sense that some of the Kenyans who are young in a way feel that when they see older persons, they are a bit uncomfortable. Honorable Speaker, I was hoping that it would be important to develop a culture where young people do not see that they can only be represented when the person in a position is young or their age. Similarly, that older people do not feel that they would only feel represented when we have one of their own. But, Honorable Speaker, that we see that representation is really about integrity, about commitment, about clarity of what is required when you hold a position, and carefully guarding the interests of the particular constituency or group that you are thereby expected to take care of. And Honorable Speaker, in this case, as has been expressed by a number of members on the floor, as we look at the interests of Kenya as a country, when we look at high commissioners and ambassadors, we, Honorable Speaker, see that these are career ambassadors. We see that they are those who have a clear understanding of what it is that would be required, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, it is clear that regardless of what age they hold, they will indeed be suitably capable to represent. And with this, Honorable Speaker, I want to support and thank the committee for the report. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Danita Gatti.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity once again to support the appointment and the list and the report as provided to us, Mr. Speaker, by the committee that is Defense and Foreign Affairs. Mr. Speaker, I served in this committee in the last parliament, and really this is the job that this committee also does very well, and I'm confident, Mr. Speaker, and happy that they have brought to us, Mr. Speaker, a list that is actually in line with our constitution. Mr. Speaker, is the list representative of this country? Yes. Is the list the face of Kenya, Mr. Speaker? Yes. Is the list gender sensitive, Mr. Speaker? Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, for me, I want to thank the committee for these kind of considerations, Mr. Speaker, for our constitution. Mr. Speaker, having 5 women as ambassadors, Mr. Speaker, out of the 15, Mr. Speaker, really shows that we are now, getting into that kind of mood that we as women and we as Kenyans really want to see. And the spirit of our constitution is really very, very clear. Mr. Speaker, I want to take keen note of the ambassador, that is Jean Kamau, that has gone from Pretoria, South Africa to Addis Ababa. Mr. Speaker, Jean Kamau is known to me, really, and we have interacted in Pretoria on several occasions, Mr. Speaker, especially on these issues of international relations, Mr. Speaker, when I served in that committee. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am, for the second time, seeing an ambassador representative, especially from the area that I come from, Mr. Speaker. That is Ambassador Daniel Wambura. Mr. Speaker, Ambassador Daniel Wambura, who now has gone to Bujumbura, Burundi, is basically also known to me by virtue of coming from my village and my community. And Mr. Speaker, he has been very, very instrumental and key, Mr. Speaker, in looking at the issues of peace within the region that is Kuria region, Mr. Speaker. That is the region where I come from. He has actually worked very well to accomplish a number of projects, Mr. Speaker, in my community, including working with young university students, putting them together on issues of cross-border relations, especially in our county, Mr. Speaker, that always has issues. So, Mr. Speaker, he's the best person and representative that is going to really do a lot in Bujumbura, Burundi. Mr. Speaker, sir, I want to quickly say that even as we move forward, Mr. Speaker, we are getting into a situation and a way that we will also now be able to see that we are actually carrying the face of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, sir, the issue of youth in this country and the issue of young people is also an issue that has arisen, Mr. Speaker, and it is good time that we, again, as we move forward, really look at the issue of where and what jobs should we give to our young people. Mr. Speaker, there are some jobs that really require a lot of experience, Mr. Speaker. And I wouldn't say that youths do not qualify, but Mr. Speaker, there are some jobs that really may require some degree of, preparedness that is here. And that really tells us, Mr. Speaker, that we also need to quickly prepare our young people for this kind of appointments so that they move forward. Mr. Speaker, the issue of youth, in Kiswahili they say ujana ni moshi. Age, Mr. Speaker, is transient. Today I may be young, tomorrow I am old, Mr. Speaker. But now what we need to do is to balance how then we bring about. Mr. Speaker, allow me to thank Ambassador and congratulate especially my own Ambassador, Daniel Wambura, who now moves to Bujumbura, Burundi, Mr. Speaker. And I do hope that all these ambassadors, Mr. Speaker, will really be prepared before they go and after they go, Mr. Speaker, to really put the face of Kenya out there so that, Mr. Speaker, we're able to really keep together our image. And Mr. Speaker, I bring this also because because today is my birthday, and today again we are seeing what is happening in the United States, Mr. Speaker. We are seeing a woman becoming a deputy president, Mr. Speaker. This is huge for women of this country, and I'm happy that we have also seen issues of gender increasingly coming into considerations as we move forward as a country. Mr. Speaker, I support the report of the committee. Thank you.
Member for Funyula.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Probably let me also take this opportunity to wish the lady, the honorable member who have spoken, happy birthday. However young she is, you never ask a lady's age. It is against our custom. So we assume she's always 16. Honorable Speaker.
What is peculiar about 16?
All of them are always 16. Honorable Speaker, yes, and here to support the committee's report, but obviously, like many of us, quite a number of Kenyans outside there are disappointed at the skewed age of the appointees. Yes, granted that the job of an ambassador or high commissioner or a diplomat is purely a technical job, a job that requires a lot of experience, a job that requires you to command respect amongst your host country. But honestly speaking, Honorable Speaker, almost 70% of the nominees are 1960s born, many before independence, and probably that could be the understanding. They can go outside there and tell the history of Kenya from independence all the way to date. I don't know if that's one of the qualifications of a diplomat in foreign land. However, Honorable Speaker, Kenya must come to a life that we seem to have a diplomatic challenge in the world, simply because of the geopolitics, simply because of a muddled politics at home, and simply because of a strategic approach to diplomatic issues. Honorable Speaker, the loss of the YTO job was really an indictment on our diplomacy, how well we do our diplomacy. Yes, we got a seat in the UN, but probably the job at World Prior was more important to Kenya than the one at UN. Of course, the loss of the pipeline that has to go through Tanzania and Uganda is an indication again that our diplomacy is facing challenges. We hope these new diplomatic appointments will have a sober rethink of the diplomatic position of this country so that we redeem and regain our level. Honorable Speaker, as we stand now, our trade balance has been unfavorable to Kenya for the past few years. And I would have imagined the appointing authority should surely have focused on regaining that particular position as a positive trade, and instead of having a negative trade deficit, but a positive trade balance. However, as you can see, we have gone for career military, as if the main challenge that we have currently is a military issue, is a security issue. But as we say, who are we to question the wisdom of the appointing authority? But we sincerely hope things will change and we'll have a better position as regards our diplomatic relationship. Honorable Speaker, even if you look at the East African community, we are starting to have challenges. Our relationship with Tanzania is bad. Our trade between Uganda and Kenya, where we have been the biggest trading partners, our volume of exports to Uganda has continued to dwindle. And that's simply because of failed diplomacy, trade negotiation, and the rest of the ideas. We just hope the just concluded deal between Kenya and UK is not going to disorganize other trade arrangements that we have the EU members. So therefore, the issue of diplomacy is critical, and I hope they will address the same. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I support.
Member for Igembe South.
Asante sana Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, nasimama kuunga ripoti hii mkono, walakini niende kinyume na wale ambao wanasema ya kwamba vijana hawana ujuzi katika kazi hii ya ubalozi. Sababu Bwana Spika, wakati ambapo taifa hili lilifanya uchaguzi mwaka wa 2014, Bwana Spika, rais na naibu wake hawakuwa wamefikisha umri wa miaka 60, na kumaanisha Wakenya waliweza kuona ya kwamba hawa viongozi walikuwa na ujuzi wa kuiongoza hili taifa, na ndiposa wakaweza kuwapa nafasi hiyo. Kwa hivyo ile dhana ambayo Bwana Spika kila mmoja akisimama ni ya kwamba vijana hawana ujuzi. Wakati huu tuko pia na governor ambaye ako na miaka 30, Bwana Spika, na lile jimbo lilimchagua sababu walijua ya kwamba ako na ujuzi na anaweza kuipeleka ile ama kupeleka lile jimbo, Bwana Spika, mbele ama kuweza kufanya kazi kwa niaba ya manufaa ya wakazi wa ile county. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, wakati ambapo mtu ambaye amefikisha umri wa kupumzika, ni vizuri apewe nafasi hiyo apumzike, alafu wale vijana barubaru ambao wako na uwezo wa kufanya kazi wapewe hiyo kazi waifanye. Sababu kila wakati ambapo uteuzi unafanywa, wale watu ambao huwa wanapewa hizi nyadhifa, Bwana Spika, ni wale watu ambao wamefikisha umri wa kuenda nyumbani. Ila hali tunajua wengi wako manyumbani, Bwana Spika, ambao pia hawana kazi za kufanya, na kama ni ujuzi, wako na ujuzi wa kutosha, na kwa hivyo wanafaa kupewa nafasi ya kufanya ama nafasi pia na wao waweze kutekeleza ama kuonyesha ule ujuzi wao. Kwa hivyo pia wakati ambapo hao mabalozi ambao tunawapa hii kazi ama tunawatuma katika zile nchi waweze kuwakilisha taifa hili, ni vizuri Bwana Spika, hao watu wawe katika mstari wa mbele katika kuyafikisha ama katika kuwakilisha Kenya hii katika yale mataifa, iwe ni katika kuuza bidhaa zetu za kilimo, wawe ndio watu wa mstari wa mbele, Bwana Spika, kuwakilisha taifa hili. Sababu ni nchi nyingi ambazo tumeona zikisusia kufanya biashara na nchi hii, ila hali tuko na mabalozi ambao wamewakilisha taifa hili katika taifa hizo. Bwana Spika, pia ni nchi nyingi kule nje ambazo ziko na mabalozi kutoka taifa hili. Vijana wetu wanaenda kufanya kazi kule, wanafungwa huko, ila hali tuko na mabalozi kule ambao wanafaa kuwa wamewakilisha taifa hili na kutetea hawa vijana wakati ambapo kuna shinda kama hiyo. Kwa hivyo wakati ambapo mtu anapewa kazi hii, Bwana Spika, ni jukumu lake aweze pia naye kufanya hiyo kazi mujibu wa wale ambao waliomtuma kufanya hiyo kazi. Kwa hivyo sababu hao watu ni wazee na ambao tunatuma kule, ni matarajio yangu Bwana Spika, pia katika masomo wakati ambapo
there's a point of order. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, I'm perturbed by the contributions that have been made, latest by the member who is contributing presently, especially in regard to the age of the candidates that we are considering in this House presently. Honorable Speaker, the Constitution is very clear. Article 27 of our Constitution is on equality and freedom from discrimination. Sub-Article 4 thereof, Honorable Speaker,
clearly states that no one should be discriminated against by the state. The state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against any person on any grounds, including race, sex, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic, social status, color, age, disability, religion. So it is clear, Honorable Speaker, that one can never be discriminated against on the basis of age. And when you discriminate against any person on the basis of age, you are guilty of the offense that is known as ageism. These are people, they are Kenyans. You are now pitting the youth against their elders. And we have seen this discrimination happening in the parts of Mombasa and Kilifi, where the young people are psyched against the older members of society, and they go ahead and kill these members. What we are doing in this parliament, by debating in this house and continuously saying that people who are old should not have a place in this society, Honorable Speaker, we are going against our constitution, and we are setting a dangerous precedent in this country, where people who are old in this country will be looked at as part of those people who should be gotten rid of for some reason or another. So, Honorable Speaker, I would like for you to give direction that this argument, that this debate, that people should not get positions in this country basically because they are of a certain age, should not be entertained in this house.
Well, do I need to just remind those of you who have been addressing that issue that actually Article 27 is in the Bill of Rights. It is in the Bill of Rights, Chapter 4 of the Constitution of Kenya. So the Honorable Mlele has just told you so that you can disabuse your mind of the notion that anybody may not get a job in the country on account of their age. You know, it's only that the underage may not get jobs. But once you become of age, then you just proceed, maybe until you are taken to 6 feet under. Yeah? So let's avoid that, because I think it is not fair to be saying things which are also against what is already in our Constitution. That you shall not discriminate on any ground, and it is specific, that clause 4. So, Honorable Mwirigi, I will give you back your 1 minute.
Asante sana Speaker. Hakuna mtu yoyote ambaye anadhalilisha mtu sababu ya umri, Bwana Speaker. Lakini kama mtu amestaafu, ni vema yule ambaye hajapata kazi aweze kupata nafasi hiyo ya kazi, sababu ni wengi ambao wanatafuta hii kazi na hawezi kupata hiyo kazi. Na sana sana ama ile nambari ambayo iko juu ni vijana wengi ambao hawana kazi kwa sasa. Na kwa hayo machache naomba kuunga. Asante.
Maybe now that's actually a better way. That those who have retired, you can use that kind of phrase, but not those who are octogenarians. Member for Kisumu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, you just made me laugh, but I'll try to contain myself. Probably because I'm moving towards that word that you just mentioned. Mr. Speaker, action speaks louder than words and louder than beliefs. And in this raging moment, when we are all talking about gender parity and talking about BBI going to be able to address that issue, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the President for having been keen in his appointment. Mr. Speaker, 5 out of 14, a membership of 14, is definitely in the threshold of 1/3. And for me, Mr. Speaker, as a proponent of BBI, I'm beginning to see a world of effective things for the women. And I want to thank the President for that. Mr. Speaker, when you look at a membership of 14, and 11 out of those 14 are career diplomats who've been working in the Foreign Office and have been working in the as public servants, Mr. Speaker, it gives me motivation because I know there's been a lot of hue and cry, especially within the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where people have worked, but when opportunities arise to actually expand their horizons, you find that people outside the office or outside the ministry are the ones who get that opportunity. Mr. Speaker, this action of getting 11 out of 14 from within the ministry is highly motivative and highly commendable. And Mr. Speaker, the fact that 3 out of those 14 have actually come from without the ministry and without the public service is great because it shows that indeed it has not been totally closed to just people within the ministry. Other people have also been considered. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk about age. And when I look at what's happening in America today, where 2 men who are 70 years of age have really ignited the interest of young people, because the difference in who is going to be elected as the president in America today is going to be determined by the youth who actually enrolled en masse to vote. Mr. Speaker, those young people are not looking at themselves as just a number in terms of age. Those young people are looking at these 2 men who are over 70 and looking at qualities that they could have to unite their country. Mr. Speaker, what we are discussing today is about the image of a country. It is just not enough to give somebody an opportunity to work because of their age. This is a category or an opportunity that needs experience, that needs a keen eye in terms of pointing out and picking out opportunities that can enhance bilateral relationships between our countries. Mr. Speaker, this also calls for people who are real patriots, so that you just do not pick somebody because of age and then they do not go to emphasize or to enhance the image of our country. So, Mr. Speaker, as much as we know that we look for opportunities for our young people, there are some categories that need more than just age, and this is one such category. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the committee. We know that when people go outside to represent the country, they represent more than just themselves. They are looked at, are they corrupt? Are they patriotic? Are they responsible? Mr. Speaker, and the committee went a step ahead to ascertain that these gentlemen and ladies whose names have been brought here have actually been cleared with the different authorities, which means that actually they have passed the test of Chapter 7 of our Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I finish, I just want to encourage the people whose names we are passing today that when they go out there, let them be Kenyans. We do not want to hear Kieleweke, Tanga. Mr. Speaker, let them be out there as Kenyans and let the flag of Kenya shine. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I support and I commend the report of the committee. Thank you.
Very well. Before I give the next speaker, let me just point out that remember, even when you are nominated to go and represent the country, the receiving country also has to accept you. And I'm sure those of you who have been here maybe for slightly long would know of people, maybe because they appear a bit naive about things, they have been rejected in some stations. Many of you who may perhaps know, but anyway, we don't want to mention names because you might then say that these ones rejected on account that they appear like they were going there to become DJs. Member for Samburu North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the committee for the good work they have done. And I think the committee has its own work cut for this particular exercise, because I think they follow the issues of integrity and these ambassadors had gone through that. I think leadership qualities, qualification, and all these other requirements that are necessary for appointment as ambassador. So the committee must have done this, and it's in the report. And I think we support them for doing that. Ambassadors are meant to create good relationship between countries, and these officers, I'm sure, because they have been career civil servants and ambassadors, they are going to build a good image of Kenya outside there. And I think they'll also dwell on issues of trade and investment. And because we are talking about youth, if they do well in whatever they have been posted to create that investment and trade, it will create jobs for our youth here at home. And of course, the experience they have. You know, Mr. Speaker, if you work in an office and you have been doing very well, your records are very clear, your records are very good, you have performed well, it's really unfair to bring somebody from outside and put on top of you. It will be a bit, it is demotivates. And sometimes that's these particular appointments goes along that route, that these officers must have been vetted, must have had supervisors, and they must have also their names must have been circulated. So I think this is the right way to go, and we congratulate the committee plus the president for appointing this group of ambassadors. In a special way, I want to thank the president for appointing John Tippis. John Tippis, I've known him for more than 30 years. We worked as district officers when we were young, and I know his capabilities. So this is just an example of one of those who have a wide experience in the service, in the civil service. And I think on the issue of age, I think all of us, according to what Mheshimiwa Omlele said, everybody in this country is entitled to those benefits that our country can give. Youth have their own role, and also old people have also there. And I think experience matters a lot, especially in the issue of ambassadorial position. Experience is required more than anything else. And I'm sure this country is big for us. It is enough. The resources, which if we use them well, it can cater for youth as well as also people who are old. On issues of, for example, Sudan and Israel, these countries require people who have worked in the military or intelligence, because some of these places are connected to war all the time. And I remember last time, the ambassador who was there, who came from Samburu, Leshore worked in the army as well as in the intelligence service. He was recalled because his term had expired, 4 years has passed. So, and I think the next one who has also gone there is from the military background, because of the war situation in those countries we are in our neighbors. But Mr. Speaker, I also want to, now that this list is balanced, but I also want to say that some of us who come from Samburu are used to have ambassadorial position. This time we are left out because we have an ambassador in Canada, but his term also expired because he's of age. But I want to appeal to the president next time to consider us also, so that we can fit also in the map of Kenya, because we really also require a position there. But we are not objecting what he has done, we are supporting, but let him consider us in the next round of appointments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I support.
Member for Changamwe.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipatia fursa hii. Kwanza kabisa nasimama kupinga hii uteuzi uliofanywa kwa sababu zifuatazo. Mheshimiwa Spika, Kenya ni taifa ambalo haliwezi kusemekana kuwa ni taifa changa. Lina miaka 50 kuendelea mbele. Ni mtazamo wa sisi sote ambao tuko katika nchi hii ya kuwa sasa sisi tujijue kuwa ni Wakenya na usawa ambao twauzungumza hata katika mikutano yetu ya BBI na mingine uko kweli kidhahiri. Lakini ukiangalia hayo majina, Mheshimiwa Spika, ikiwa kuna makabila 42 ama na 3 katika nchi yetu ya Kenya, na uone majina kutoka sehemu zingine yako mengi na wengine hakuna kabisa, je, twaunga mkono kitu gani hapa, Mheshimiwa Spika? Nimeangalia sioni hata Muislamu mmoja katika hii idadi ya hawa, na Waislamu ndani ya taifa letu, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni idadi kubwa ya karibia 40% kwenda mbele. Ikiwa taifa letu leo tuzungumzia watu washirikiane pamoja, waje pamoja, leo yaweza kuchaguliwa mabalozi 14, hata Muislamu mmoja hakuna, alafu tuseme tutaunga mkono hapa. Mimi nashangaa na wabunge wenzangu, Mheshimiwa Spika, tutaunga mkono kitu gani hapa? Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna Wahindi ndani ya taifa letu, kuna Waarabu, kuna kabila tofauti tofauti. Mbona hatuoni hizi picha zao? They are all Kenyans. It is high time, Mheshimiwa Spika, tutakapoona watu wakichaguliwa katika jopo lolote lile, tuone Mhindi yuko hapo, tuone Mwarabu yuko hapo, tuone makabila tofauti tofauti yako hapo, kila mmoja aweze kujisikia na kujivunia kuwa hii ni nchi yake. Lakini hivi sasa tunavyozungumza, Mheshimiwa Spika, tunaona ya kwamba kama sisi ni wageni ndani ya hii nchi na hatuna haki ndani ya nchi, hakuna usawa ndani ya nchi. Mheshimiwa Spika, nitakukumbusha siku za hayati Moi, kulipokuwa kukifanya uchaguzi, Mheshimiwa Spika, unaona waziri wa foreign affairs ametoka Pwani, Mombasa. Unaona waziri wa ardhi ametoka Mombasa. Siku hizi hakuna hayo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Unapewa ministry ya tourism moja peke yake kwa mtu ambaye hata hana connection yoyote na watu. Ni yeye peke yake na cabinet, yeye na cabinet peke yake. Then twasema twaunga mkono, hatuunge mkono. Na naomba wajumbe wenzangu, kama mwaweza kupewa tena nafasi na Spika, museme mwaipinga hii ripoti. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mombasa leo ni kitovu cha taifa hili letu. Hakuna jambo linaweza kufanyika bila Mombasa kuhusishwa na bila Mombasa kuunga mkono. Lakini leo imekuwa Mombasa atatumiwa sisi, Mheshimiwa Spika. Hakuna jambo lolote tunalofaidi hata katika appointments katika mashirika yale ambayo yako ndani ya Mombasa pia vile vile. Mwisho tunapata paka PS ambaye amelelewa Mombasa anakuja kututusa, anasema wa huku Pwani hawapati kazi kwa sababu hawajui Kiingereza. Nani alikwambia Kiingereza ndio wewe una ujuzi kwa kazi ambayo waweza kuifanya kwa bila kutumia Kiingereza? Leo tuna Wachina, Mheshimiwa Spika, wanajenga barabara zetu, hawajui Kiingereza, but they are actually doing the work. Mheshimiwa Spika, anachaguliwa Maritime Authority Director. Tuna kijana wa kutoka Mombasa ambaye ni wakili na ana
just a minute, be relevant to this, eh?
Sawa sawa.
Yeah. Otherwise you will see the door.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Otherwise, kitu ambacho nasema, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni kwamba hakika waliochaguliwa wamechaguliwa na tajriba, lakini kuna wengine ambao wangechaguliwa ingekuwa ni better kuliko hawa ambao wako hapa. Kwa hivyo mimi nasema naipinga hii report, na ningeomba wabunge wale hawajazungumza waipinge pia, kwa sababu
Member for Saku, it is your right to oppose, don't worry.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I rise to support this report. And I want to say that I am a member of that committee and also a ranking member for that matter. What my honorable colleague has just raised